If you watched my first video, you know that I love Disney Channel, and I watched it consistently growing up. But sometimes my mom would get annoyed with it, over it, didn't want to watch the kids' show anymore. So she would turn on her show, which then began my addiction for TLC. The Learning Channel, or TLC, is an American cable television channel owned by Discovery. It was initially focused on just the educational, instructional programming, but it's just become that channel that has all of those crazy shows you've heard of, sometimes disturbing as well. So while you were at home watching things like The Bachelor, Too Hot to Handle, Vanderpump Rules, I have been devouring 4 Weddings, My Strange Addiction, Dr. Pimple Popper, and Say Yes to the Dress. One particular genre of this channel is large families. You had John and Kate plus 8, 16, 17, 18, I think it stopped at 19, Kids and Counting, and Sister Wives. I watched all of them for years. They were on the TV all the time. Now let's throw back to April of 2020. We are in the very beginning of COVID. It has just shut down the world. My college has decided to extend spring break, and I'm just bored out of my mind trying to figure out what to do. So that's where I find my next great TLC show based on a large conservative family. It's a theme that they seem to have on this channel, and I eat it up every single time. This show is called Welcome to Plathville.
We're the Plath family.
We're 11 people in the family, mom, dad, and 9 children, ranging in age from 6 to 21.
Ethan is our oldest, and he just got married to Olivia. Then there's Mariah.
Hey.
You know, Mariah can be opinionated.
I've grown up without a TV. I don't think I need one.
Who is Spider-Man?
Something that I don't know.
This show is on its 5th season, and the drama has just been so good. That family that you just saw in the trailer is not the family that exists today. And I think it's also important to acknowledge that because this is reality TV and because it holds truth and these are actual people's lives that we're talking about, this is not a space to spread any hatred towards these people. I may goof on them, I may make fun of them, but I will never go out of my way to go to their social media accounts, to go after them specifically. I do not know these people. I only know what is shown on TLC, and I fully acknowledge that, and I hope everyone watching this video can also acknowledge that and not spread any hatred towards these people, regardless of what your opinion is of them. Now, with all that being said, let's start watching.
We've structured our lifestyle here so that we can retreat to our piece of heaven on earth.
Translation of that, we had lives prior to meeting each other, and we made the decision together to shelter our kids from the outside world and not allow them the opportunity to make mistakes so that we can then call this heaven on earth. Here is an example of how sheltered this family really is.
Experientially, they've never had a Coke. Can you believe that? That is so off the wall.
So these kids have never had a soda or sugar outside of honey in their entire life, and they have the world's dorkiest dad? That's rough. Rewatching these introductions, I completely forgot that the show even took the time to introduce their oldest daughter, Hosanna. We don't see her much for the rest of the show just because she lives in Ohio with her husband, but here's a little bit about her.
Hosanna had a college that offered a scholarship for her to do music, but what does she need college for?
Of course, conservative parents that have homeschooled their 8 children their entire lives would then encourage their oldest daughter to not take this college scholarship. I mean, we don't want her to get brainwashed by this woke college agenda, would we? I think Micah really sums it up best when talking about being homeschooled.
I don't think I ever really asked my parents why we were homeschooled. I know they don't want us picking up bad habits or anything. They also want to teach us what they want to teach us.
I feel it's safe to assume that their lessons are focused on having a relationship with God and reading the Bible. When it comes to your average subjects of math, English, history, and science, I can almost guarantee that they're taught the absolute basic level. I wonder if any of these kids would actually even be capable of getting into a college or keeping up with college schoolwork had they been admitted. Switching from the Plathville farm to Ethan and Olivia's house, they begin discussing all the new things that Ethan's tried since getting married. It's included things like going to a basketball game, going to a movie theater, drinking soda, specifically a Coke, and watching the Friends TV show. And then, most scandalously, alcohol. Olivia also discusses the tension between her and Ethan's parents.
When we got married and we moved in here and, we had alcohol in the home, that was a big source of tension. We'd want to go out for ice cream and that would create conflict.
When talking about their marriage, Kim says, quote unquote, "We've been married 22 years and, we haven't had any major issues." Unfortunately, this comment does not ring true in season 4 and on to present day. It makes me wonder, how much did she even mean that statement in the moment? One of Kim's concerns with Olivia is the effect that she's having on Mariah, the black sheep rebel of the family. And so this is where we see Kim's reaction to Micah and Mariah heading over to Olivia and Ethan's house.
It's hard, it's challenging to, to handle some of the stronger-willed children.
I don't know if other people would feel this way too, but using the word handle to describe your 16 and 18-year-old children, it just feels gross to me. Although I don't personally believe that Kim has been a good mom, my heart does break to hear about her childhood. I think it adds a little bit of context too of why she shields her kids and why they're really not interacting with that outside world. Is it acceptable? In my opinion, no. Is it understandable? Sort of.
My mom was a single parent, and I was an only child. My mom was in a relationship with a man that abused her. And she was also an alcoholic. She was basically drunk all the time up until I was 14.
As she continues to explain why she's raised her kids the way that she has, she makes a statement that unfortunately didn't age well.
I have set out to give them things that I didn't have. A stable home with 2 sober parents.
If you were to hop on Olivia's Instagram page right now and start reading through the comment section, you would think that she is actually the devil reincarnate, let alone if you go on Facebook and see any Plathville videos. However, I personally see her as a genuine and loving 21-year-old whose childhood included a multitude of trauma. She's in the middle of her own self-discovery and is realizing that the world is much bigger than what she was told growing up.
I really relate with Mariah, having grown up in a conservative home. I really love opening doors and letting her experience things and letting her see life from a different angle and a much more open mind and accepting.
A huge step for Mariah was her getting a cell phone. This led to her realizing that the world is just so much bigger than what she was taught.
How naive I was before, and I still am so naive because I'm new to it all. But I'm not going to stay that way for long.
Another big step for Mariah is that she's now working as Olivia's assistant. Olivia is a destination wedding photographer, and the next wedding she has will be in San Francisco. This is obviously a huge ask of Barry and Kim with how liberal of a state it is and how far away it is from Georgia.
My parents don't approve of the overall culture of California, so I hope I can get permission.
After a ton of skepticism, Kim makes a deal with Mariah that she can go if she gets caught up on all of her schoolwork. She claims that Mariah is weeks behind, so I think she was highly doubtful that Mariah would even be capable of completing it in time, and then it wouldn't be a worry on if she could go to California or not. Episode 2 picks up with Olivia beginning to pack for San Francisco and mentioning that it's still unknown if Mariah is even going, as Kim has assigned her just that abundance of tasks and she just might not be capable of completing it.
So the whole past month, Brian and I have been working on it, and I've just said hey, how are you on the list? Are you almost done? And making sure it's on top of it.
With Mariah being so determined to go on this trip, she actually was able to get everything done in time. Here's Kim's overjoyed reaction.
Wow. Yep. I'm proud of you. This is a big deal. So that means
All the way done, and I'm
you're going.
Yeah.
Wow.
Olivia heads over to the Plath farm and is picking up Mariah so that they can go to the airport. And then we get some background information from Kim.
There's been tension with Olivia and I for a long time because she thinks I'm too controlling. And there were things, when they were engaged that I know she thinks that I disapproved of, but I really didn't. And the thing is, she never asked me. She never talked to me about it. I've just kind of accepted that as par for the course. I'm hoping that letting Mariah go on this trip, that Olivia will see that I'm not this mean person that, wants to make her life miserable.
Based off of everything that I've seen in the first 4 seasons from Kim, this feels like an attempt to gaslight Olivia. From Olivia's perspective, Kim was controlling, or at least attempting to control, what toothpaste Olivia was using, when she would eat sugar, and just other mundane things that most of us would not put much thought into. Then, to shift the blame of this tension onto Olivia for just not being able to talk it out is ridiculous. I mean, Kim has literally made her feel small, untrustworthy, and unwanted. I wouldn't want to talk to her if I felt that way. So why would Olivia talk to her after all of that? As Olivia and Mariah head off to San Francisco, Ethan decides to head over to the farm just to hang out with his younger siblings.
The world that I was raised in is so much different than the world I'm in now. When I go back to the farm and see my siblings, in a way, it's kind of like looking back at how I grew up or what I used to do.
In San Francisco, Mariah sees what I assume Barry and Kim were most afraid of with California: gay people. So I was a bit nervous watching this scene and just seeing how Mariah would interact with that new situation. However, she demonstrates her ability to be open-minded and realize that her way of life and her understanding of the world is not the only way and is not necessarily the correct way.
Riding through the Castro district was not uncomfortable. It was new and different because I've grown up in South Georgia, very secluded. It was just new.
Although it is funny to watch, I think this next scene really demonstrates just how poorly Barry and Kim have done at teaching their kids about the world. I mean, this was shot in 2019.
I had never heard the acronym LGBT.
Oh, what?
Las Vegas.
I don't know. G would stand for gay. LGB. Best. Gay best. T, is that next? Transition. Transgender.
Continuing to keep himself entertained, Ethan goes out with some coworkers and shares a conversation that he had with his mom 5 minutes before getting married. Remember, he was 20 years old at this point.
Because there's 2 holes. Make sure you get the right one.
How insane is that? Not educating your child on sex at least an absolute baseline level is already not okay, but 5 minutes before he gets married, it's almost too late at this point. That's just so dangerous and so irresponsible. As the trip comes to an end, here is Mariah's final take on visiting San Francisco.
This is just one small part of the world. And if this is this amazing, what's the rest like?
And with that, we are on episode 3. So this episode opens with the family eating breakfast and just talking with Mariah about her trip. Mariah mentions that she doesn't understand what there was to fear about the people that lived in California. And I'm not really sure I believe Kim here.
Barry and I have talked with some of the children about the gay lifestyle, and it's not something that we obviously practice. There are all kinds of people in the world, and I don't think that a gay person is any worse or better than anybody else.
This episode focuses on the Plath farm being free of Barry and Kim for a weekend since they're off celebrating their anniversary.
Barry and I are celebrating our 22nd anniversary. We're headed to the Wakulla Springs State Park to see the Wakulla Lodge where we set our vows 22 years ago.
They've decided to put their oldest Micah in charge, but they also know that at the end of the day, it's going to be Lydia who will be holding it all together, getting the chores done, and just being the more responsible one. Kim also mentions the fear that she has while she's gone.
Ethan and Olivia are not to be around the other children without us present.
I guess I can understand not allowing Olivia to be around the kids while the parents aren't home, but to also include their own son, Ethan, in this agreement that they've made, that's wild. Kim has sheltered all of these kids for their entire life. They've been sheltered from the outside world, and they've been limited in their ability to make friends and just have connections outside of their siblings. So Kim deciding to tell him that he can't be around his best friends unless they're there is just, it irritates me so much.
It really hurts to not be able to do that. It kind of makes me mad. And it's like not being able to be with my best friends.
The parents head out, and realistically, the house gets handed over to Lydia.
Right, you ready? Here, say goodbye.
I was like, oh great, this is gonna be a lot of hard work keeping them under control.
My heart aches for Lydia. I do believe that she is completely genuine and that she has this deep love for God and for her family. However, her family abuses that, specifically her parents. She has become what many of these large families require, a parental figure who is, in fact, a child. She's only 15. I have not seen Lydia having fun throughout this series. I mean, a few times maybe, but most of the times when the camera pans to her, she's cleaning, studying, or cooking. Being the more fun sibling, Micah takes a few of the kids over to the grocery store and they pick up ice cream and soda.
All right, now sodas, but you not tell Mom needs to not know we're having soda. Anything else we want to eat?
Mommy's gonna find out.
It'll be too late.
And here's Lydia being kind but opposed to the rebellion.
I usually don't tell on my siblings just because if I did, they wouldn't want me around when they were, doing what they do.
In the meantime, Mariah texts Olivia asking if her and Ethan would be interested in just coming to the farm for the night and hanging out later. Ethan mentions how his parents wouldn't know it happened until after the fact, so he's down to do it because they couldn't really be stopped from doing it.
You think we'll get in trouble?
I'm my mom and dad's son. I can't get in trouble with them.
You wish.
I think this moment really does demonstrate how much Ethan wants to be around his siblings. And Olivia sums this up well.
For him to get to the point where he just said, hey, I haven't seen my siblings, I am coming over, like this can't go on, that took a lot for him because he is very easygoing, really hard to ruffle his feathers. This is a really big deal for Ethan.
So Olivia and Ethan head over to the farm, and this is Lydia's reaction.
I hope they know that it wasn't my idea.
Thankfully, though, that doesn't stop Lydia from joining in on the fun.
Mariah got in the Chevy and I got on the racing mower.
Hey, watch out, give us some gas. Go, 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 go. Not that hard, not that hard, not that hard.
While on their honeymoon trip, Barry and Kim reflect over what was one of the hardest times for their marriage and for their family.
It's been probably 10 years since we lost our son, Joshua. He was 17 months old.
Joshua died, and it was an accident. It was just a terrible accident.
I pulled a vehicle forward. I had just seen him, so I thought I was okay, but I pulled forward and I ran over him. I can tell you that those next 6 or 8 months of my life were hell on earth. And I was dealing with losing a son. He was dealing with losing a son and a wife, because I wasn't there. I was there, but I wasn't there. We got through that together as a family. And that's why, it hurts to have this fracture in the family right now.
Right here is where I began to realize what I think is the root of this family's issues, and it's their inability to get help. What happened to Kim in her life has absolutely traumatized her, and she needs professional help to get through that. She's done everything that she can to control everyone and everything, and it really just seems to be because she doesn't want to face how awful and unfair life can be. And I think we're kind of all guilty of that. However, it's not an excuse to have all of these children and to hold them captive until they're old enough to break free from it all. Back at the Plath farm, everyone eats dinner and tries some root beer floats for the first time. The older kids then get together to begin working on their music.
Ethan, Olivia, Micah, and I are all gonna start a band together. Growing up, we weren't allowed to listen to secular music, but I love country music.
We're only on episode 3, and we've heard it multiple times. I'm not allowed to do this, but I absolutely love it. And it just breaks my heart knowing that these kids have all this passion for all these different things, but it seems they're just gonna get punished or made to feel guilty for enjoying that thing, rather than the parents coming along and celebrating and encouraging them in that activity, hobby, interest, whatever it may be. If anything is different than what Barry and Kim have planned for their children's lives, it's going to be upsetting for them or just unacceptable. The moment that Barry and Kim return home from their honeymoon, Micah rats out Olivia and Ethan.
I don't know, Ethan and Olivia came over, we just visited with them.
I was surprised that Ethan and Olivia came over on our anniversary, knowing that we weren't there and knowing what we had talked about them not coming over.
I find it so interesting how Barry just says absolutely nothing here. In the same moment that they're having this conversation, Ethan and Olivia pull up because they want to talk to Kim and Barry about potentially having Isaac join their band. However, the conversation just ends up turning into more about Olivia and Kim's relationship with one another.
One of the things that I wanted to say to you is I do want us to work on our relationship. And so you don't have to answer right now, but be thinking about what does that look like? Like, what do you want? You know.
Olivia then mentions that allowing Isaac in the band would be a huge step forward. However, Kim's not really hearing it, and she continues to have her doubts.
See, if I know you don't trust me, then it's really hard to work on that relationship. By you letting us be with Isaac, it shows that you trust us.
In this weird confrontational moment, Barry asks Olivia if she might be missing some blind spots, and Olivia respectfully replies that she believes everyone has at least some blind spots. Mariah then asks for further explanation from her dad.
Dad, what do you mean by blind spot?
It's character type things that may be occurring that you don't see.
I give a lot of credit to Olivia for being able to remain calm and collected in this moment. If someone started coming for me for my character or just something I'm not in full control of, I would be incredibly overwhelmed. And I just love her response here.
I would love for this relationship to be fixed, but that does not equal me changing as a person. And I can't change who I am to make all this melt away. I'm willing to work on it, but I can't change the essence of who I am.
In this conversation is also where we see a little bit of Ethan's avoidant behavior.
My biggest problem is I just don't deal with it. So then it makes it harder for me to help her.
They don't really end up coming to a conclusion about Isaac, but they do agree to give Barry and Kim time to think about it.
We'll just do what we can Sunday night, and then we'll come back and ask for Isaac again.
Mariah sums up what the real issue between Olivia and Kim is.
Mom's always been used to just being able to be in control of everything, and then with Olivia, she's like losing control.
Lydia does not take this confrontation well.
I don't know what to do. I really don't know what to do. Oh, Father, please tell Mom and Daddy what to do.
A few of the siblings go and talk to her.
But Ethan and Olivia have never told us what to believe.
Yeah, I see Mom's and Daddy's concern, but I also see, I don't think that keeping us from Ethan and Olivia will solve the problem. Not at all.
That wraps up the first half of season 1. In the beginning of episode 4, Kim decides to spend the day trying to help Lydia cope with her stress.
I became a naturopathic doctor a few years ago. The way I see my job is when I'm working with a client, I try to figure out what blocks they have in their life that are preventing them from living a healthier lifestyle.
As much as I'd love for this to be more medical-based therapy, I am glad to see that Lydia is being acknowledged and heard for her stress.
As a mom, it's satisfying to know that I can help her kind of help the energy to flow and release, the things that are pent up in the body.
While on a date night, Ethan and Olivia begin talking about the struggles that they've been going through.
When you start a new life together, you need that family and that community and that support. And when those people who are supposed to be that for you are Sometimes people that hurt you the most is just a really hard thing to deal with.
My heart genuinely hurts for them because I was in a similar situation at the beginning of my marriage. My husband and I got married young, and it was quite clear that his family just didn't support the idea. Our engagement was incredibly stressful, and it weighed a lot on our relationship, even though we had been together for nearly 4 years at that point. We didn't get to experience the joy and the celebration that I always assumed was part of being engaged. Thankfully, with time and conversation, we began to receive love and support and have now been happily married for nearly 3 years. It was hard and it weighed down on us day by day, but we chose what was best for us, not what others wanted. And I think Olivia sums up that feeling pretty well here.
Sometimes with all this drama, it's really easy to let it come between us, but we shouldn't let it come between us, and we shouldn't let it harm our relationship.
In an attempt to begin mending the relationship, Barry and Kim decide to surprise Olivia and Ethan by showing up unannounced and then giving them a gift.
Are you kidding me?
The editing of this is so funny and so awkward. That thing is massive, and I'm not thinking anyone was actually looking to own it. How odd of a gift. While out on a walk with Barry, we hear Kim, for the second time, explain how someone sees her as rigid and controlling when she's really not. And this time, it's about Mariah.
I think she thinks that I'm this hardline person that wants to make her follow a certain path, and I'm really not.
I, at the surface level, agree with everything that Kim says here.
Growing up as a child of an alcoholic, I learned early on to manage my emotions, but I think it's better to communicate and air those things even if it's hard than to just pretend like it's not there.
Where I don't agree with Kim is that she doesn't actually listen to or hear what people are saying to her during these conversations. She wants to have conversations, she's open to conversations, but then she's not very present during them. The real truth is that she wants to feel seen and heard, but she's not willing to do that for her children or for Olivia when it comes to any sort of disagreement. Somehow, Kim is just always right and there's no denying it. And that's what Mariah is attempting to address here.
A nosy, untrusting kind of communication is not the kind of communication I need.
Trust is earned and built.
And it's not broken by doing nothing.
Okay.
My whole life, it's been like that. Like, you just didn't really trust me. It seemed like you trusted everyone else, Susanna and Lydia, but you never trusted me.
Instead of taking a moment to hear what Mariah's feeling, Kim argues that Hosanna and Lydia never gave her a reason to not trust them. So Mariah mentions how she's never felt close to her mom, and Kim proceeds to then make it about herself and asks Mariah if she resents her.
You resent me for that?
Maybe.
I do appreciate that at least she's communicating with me, you know, and she's letting me know whatever it is that she's not happy about.
That conversation concludes episode 4. The next episode starts with Mariah looking at different colleges and just kind of thinking where she could go and what she would possibly want to major in.
I'm not really interested in a Christian college just because, like, I have a bad taste of Christianity. I just want to be able to figure out for myself what's right for me.
In the last episode, Micah mentioned that he wanted to be a model, but he didn't really know where to start. Olivia had a contact in Florida that they reached out to, and she was willing to hear him out. So Micah tells his parents about this new dream of his.
The only thing I could think of was stuff that's really not good. There's underwear modeling, and you know, I guess that would be less preferable to me.
I'd be like, why? Why?
To sell underwear.
Micah, Mariah, and Olivia head over to Tallahassee to meet with this agent.
And then when you get to the end, you kind of smirk, like, yeah, I know I look good. Oh, yeah, right? It's got to be attitude. You got to have attitude.
Micah, Mariah, Olivia, and Ethan then decide to have a beach day, and we get a glimpse into the purity culture that the Plaths grew up in.
Growing up, us girls had to wear like t-shirts and leggings or pants on the beach.
I began going to a Christian church when I was in 5th grade, which was perfect timing for me to hit puberty and be introduced into purity culture. While the boys were allowed to wear their swim trunks, the girls had to, at bare minimum, be wearing a t-shirt or a one-piece bathing suit. It had to be something that covered their stomach, because God forbid we showed our stomachs and led the boys to sin. One year, I think I was in 8th grade, I was at a water park for our annual youth group trip, and I was in the hot tub with a whole bunch of people. My youth group leader ended up seeing me, and she ran over my way and just started screaming at me in front of everyone. Who do I think I am? You know the rules. How dare you do this? You thought you could get away with it. And I just remember feeling so embarrassed, and I wanted to melt away. And although I can't speak for everyone who has partaken in purity culture, I will say that it did not benefit me, and it hurt me. And so I definitely understand where Mariah's coming from in this moment. One theme of the Plath family is how secluded they were throughout their childhood. I was fascinated to learn that they didn't actually even attend a specific church growing up.
My parents didn't really agree with how a regular church system functioned.
I no longer attend church, and I'm not even really sure what I believe in anymore. But I was once incredibly involved in my church, and throughout high school, it was my escape from home, and I really needed that. So I fully understand this part of Olivia and Ethan's journey in finding community and support from a church.
You know, like when your character's in question, then you start to question yourself. So it's been a really healing thing to be around people like who believe in you again.
After filling their cup up with community, Olivia and Ethan decide it's time to reach out to Barry and Kim again.
I felt controlled from day one. And I felt like if I did not conform and think exactly like you guys or do things like you guys, I wasn't accepted. And then I was told that I was a bad influence on the kids, and the kids were told I was a bad influence on them.
Kim's response is incredibly confusing. It's like she completely switched up because she was being called out.
I'm sorry that you heard that we said you were a bad influence. I don't know if those were the words we used. I didn't mean... You're not a bad influence. You're an amazing influence.
She continues.
We're coming from the standpoint of the children and the negative that you have towards us rubbing off on them.
Then Barry just says a bunch of words.
It becomes an unintended consequence and byproduct of the impasse.
Kim does finally bring up a good point as to why she doesn't trust them.
When it was our anniversary and you knew that we didn't want you over without us here, and then you came over anyway, that didn't help with the trust. That I was really hurt.
Ethan's explanation and response is also valid.
I'm your son and they're my siblings, and I really didn't see that there was any valid evidence for you to not trust us.
Olivia does also acknowledge that they did cross the line, and it's kind of regardless of whether they believe that the line was fair or not.
Well, I mean, as hurtful as that was, we did come over anyways, and we did break that boundary. I'm sorry that hurt you more.
After a bit more discussion, Barry and Kim come to an agreement about Isaac being allowed to hang out with Olivia and Ethan at their place without the parents' supervision. Part of the agreement, though, was for Olivia and Ethan to join the entire family for dinner. It's a bittersweet moment in all of the drama and just chaos that has been happening throughout the season.
What did the German police officer say to his navel?
What?
You're under a vest.
It was really good for me just to see everyone happy together for once.
I can't believe that we're having this much fun. It's unreal. This is how family should be.
Although I love that everyone was able to let things go for a bit and just enjoy the company, obviously nothing is actually fixed. There's a lot of hurt and pain just circling throughout this family. And there's also a lack of accountability and professional help. Everyone wants to fix the relationship and just move on, but it's clear that everyone is struggling to do that work. The reality may also just be that they, specifically Kim and Olivia, just hold core values that might never align. Beginning episode 6, Micah is doing his first photo shoot, and Mariah is visiting a college with Kim.
I know right now she just wants the fun of being away from mom and dad and doing her own thing and partying and having fun and hanging out with friends. I don't think she realizes how much money it's gonna cost for her to do that.
I hate how Kim is trying to use the cost of college to scare Mariah away instead of just explaining to her all these different options she has. You don't have to go to this expensive 4-year university in order to get your degree, and you also don't have to attend the schools in order to go to the parties and to get away from home. There are cheaper options like community college, trade school, beauty school, and so on. Plus, Kim could do a better job at helping Mariah apply for scholarships. She seems to have done a horrible job at showing Mariah how to figure out what to do. This moment right here is why Mariah didn't want Kim to go to this college visit with her. And the sad thing is that Kim thinks she's being realistic and educational, but she's truly just trying to deter Mariah from going to college. If money was the only issue, she would have encouraged Hosanna to take the scholarship and go to college. During the tour, the school begins to mention merit scholarships and how students at that specific school are automatically enrolled into these scholarships, regardless if they apply or not. Here's how Mariah felt about it.
I was upset because my parents are like telling me that it's gonna be so expensive, but then they never told me about any scholarships or anything.
As Mariah is listening to an advisor, Kim interrupts.
I don't exactly know what sorority and fraternity are.
Okay, it's an organization made up of Greek letters or whatnot, and you do community service.
Okay, I went to a large university.
Yes, ma'am.
And I was in a sorority. It was all about party.
Look at how frustrated Mariah is.
I went through some rough times in college because of my wildness, and I see some of that in Mariah. Driving when I was drunk and, you know, waking up in the car parked weird on the lawn, passed out, you know, taking drugs and driving across town at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Kim is intensely projecting here. It is normal for a parent to worry about their child as they grow up and start to make their own choices. But for me, I think a parent's role is to be that safe space to come home to, with little to no judgment and a lot of love. But also, not everyone has that college experience. And it's not Mariah's job to live the fixed version of Kim's life. She's allowed to try, fail, grow, and learn too. And her mom should support her through all of that. After getting home from the college trip, Kim drops Isaac off at Olivia and Ethan's.
It's a big deal to hang out with them all by myself because growing up, me and Ethan were really close, and it's kind of changed since he's moved out, since I wasn't able to come over here.
Meanwhile, back at the farm, Mariah and Lydia have this emotional moment as Lydia talks about how overwhelming it has been being the oldest child that is consistently around and how the cooking and the cleaning constantly fall on her.
I think I do need to learn to say no every once in a while. And I think I need to learn to every once in a while ask for help too.
I don't think this feeling is uncommon for women, especially religious women. There is so much pressure to just hold the family together by feeding them and keeping the house clean. And we're told that it's an honor while our bodies ache and our stress builds on top of itself. I really do hope that Lydia gets better at asking for help, but simultaneously doesn't see herself as less capable because of it. The scene transitions over to Olivia and Ethan setting up at a restaurant where they'll be having Mariah's surprise birthday party.
Probably one of my best memories growing up was birthdays. That was practically the only family celebration we had. We didn't do any holidays. So a birthday to us was like like the one time in a year that you actually had a party for yourself.
There's some weird tension here because the dinner was Olivia's idea, and she didn't tell the Plath family until they arrived to the dinner. Kim was hurt that Olivia had gifts prepared, but because she didn't even know that this was a surprise party, she didn't have Mariah's gifts on her. And also, Mariah's birthday was a few weeks away. I have to side with Kim on this one. That was a hard sentence to say. It's just not much of a surprise birthday if you don't tell your guests that that's what it is. Olivia ends up getting Mariah tickets to a Carrie Underwood concert. And of course, Barry and Kim don't love the idea.
Why she didn't ask? That's a good question.
Yeah, I think because there's a breach in the relationship. She didn't ask. You know, she...
Maybe out of fear?
Yeah, she feels like she can't talk to us or whatever. But I mean, the way to fix that is to start talking, not to stop.
The issue, Kim, is that you're not welcoming. You talk and talk all about how these things would be fixed if Olivia would talk to you, but you do not make her feel comfortable. I don't love how Olivia did this party and blindsided the parents. Mariah's still underage, and those are her parents after all, but I also feel for Olivia, and I get that she was trying to give a kind and loving gift for Mariah. But if you thought that this dinner wasn't awkward enough, Ethan then decides to order a beer.
This is the first time I've had alcohol in front of my parents. I think their eyeballs went like when they saw it.
And to put the cherry on top, Mariah shares some big news.
Obviously, Olivia knows because she booked my tickets. I'm leaving for Minnesota.
Okay, for...
Olivia and I are flying out there for a wedding. I'm going to stay with Grandma and Papa. It's a one-way ticket.
While I think that this is an amazing opportunity for Mariah, I think it would have been smarter if Ethan had said that he bought the ticket versus Olivia. I also think that Barry and Kim wouldn't have supported this, but I don't know if it was Olivia's place to buy the ticket, even if it's disguised as a wedding. I do admire Olivia and Ethan's love for the Plath children, though.
And we're not trying to parent my siblings, but if my siblings feel like they're struggling emotionally, they feel like they need to talk to someone, they feel like they need help, I'm responsible as their older brother to help them, and I don't see anything wrong with that.
And that concludes season 1 of Welcome to Plathville. My overall take, Barry and Kim love their kids, but they both have trauma that they need to face and work through instead of over-controlling their children and projecting all of their problems onto the kids. Kim needs to learn to throw her hands up and realize that the world will go on if she loses just a little bit of control of it. As for Barry, he's not the head of the household. He takes in everything Kim has to say. His commentary throughout the entire season shows that he is far more flexible and understanding than Kim, but we also haven't seen him go against her. Olivia and Ethan are good people with good hearts that just need a little growing up. It's hard to grow up when you have little to no family support, and it's uncomfortable and awkward and lonely, but hopefully the love that they have for each other will help them support themselves and get through this. I also hope that Micah and Mariah get to do some more self-discovery and learn what they want from life. If you're still watching, thank you for diving into this drama with me. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and check out my first video from last week. I would greatly appreciate if you would subscribe and turn post notifications on. And I will see you next week. Bye.